Hey guys, it's Mallory here. Welcome back to my channel. I'm in the car at a stoplight headed to my 6-week postpartum appointment with my OBGYN. So it'll be interesting to see what all they do at this appointment. I know nothing about it, but I will fill you guys in afterwards. And then I'll also do like a little postpartum update. Luckily, my whole experience has been pretty smooth sailing, pretty easy as far as postpartum goes, like physically, but I'll share more later. Going to my appointment now. I might have time to pick up Starbucks on the way. We'll see. You too. I'm in my garage now, but before I go in, I just wanted to share the drink that I got because it's really good and this is the first time I've had this. So I asked if they still had like the caramel cloud macchiato drink. Oh, this doesn't have a label on it. Anyways, they did not, but they do have like a caramel macchiato and then they can put vanilla foam on top. I guess the only difference is like there's some kind of cloud powder. But anyways, I just got this iced and it's super good and this is what it looks like. It's really pretty. They even did like a caramel drizzle. Yeah, I thought I'd share because this is the first time I've had it and it's really good. And then I picked up my husband Nasheed a little refresher, so he gets the mango dragon fruit refresher, which is really good too. So it's a few days later. That's what happens with having a newborn, is you just get caught up doing other things and you're not able to sit down to talk like this. But Asher is napping now and I wanted to circle back around to talk about my 6-week postpartum update. So I had that appointment a few days ago and it was really pointless, honestly. They didn't really tell me much. They checked my vitals. They didn't like do an exam or anything, and then just asked if I had any questions, and I guess I was kind of thrown off guard, so I didn't really have any questions. I just assumed that I'm cleared to exercise and do all those other things that you're supposed to wait 6 weeks for. So yeah, it was very interesting, but I wanted to just kind of go through my postpartum experience. So I was actually super nervous going into labor and delivery for postpartum. I was thinking, like on the physical side anyways, I was thinking that I would be in a ton of pain, that it would just be like unbearable. I don't know what I was thinking. I just thought it was going to be absolutely awful, but it really actually wasn't that bad. So I did an epidural. I had my delivery. It all went really well. I think I'm still going to do a birth story at some point. It's just, like I said, kind of hard to find time to like sit down and film a video like this, but eventually I'll be able to. And I did have a tear, so I guess there's 4 degrees and I had a 2nd degree tear because my baby was 9 pounds 7 ounces. Asher is really big and has a very big head. So I did get a tear, so I had to be stitched up and everything, but it went way better than I expected. Obviously I had the epidural, so I didn't really feel anything down there, so that was great. And then afterwards, I was able to pee without a lot of pain. Obviously that happens like a little bit later, but that was something else I was nervous for. And the first time they had me try, I was like too nervous and just couldn't really, but then once I got into the recovery room, I had no problems. They did give me a peri bottle, which I'll show you guys all the stuff that I used, including the peri bottle. I just used the one from the hospital. I know a lot of people get like the Freedom Mom one because it has a little bit more of like an upward angle to be able to spray it, maybe easier, but I thought the one from the hospital worked perfectly fine. I didn't really need to use it the first time, but I did use it after that. Obviously there's a little bit of pain, but it wasn't bad. So definitely not nearly as awful as I expected. And maybe it was just not so bad because I had horrible expectations. I don't know, but for me it wasn't so bad. Oh, also I guess I should preface this whole video with, obviously everyone's experience is different, so I don't want to make it like nobody has a hard time with postpartum on the physical side, and I don't want to make it like it's awful either. So it's going to be different for everybody, but I did tear and had stitches, and yet it wasn't a bad process. It wasn't so bad. So anyways, I in the hospital had used the peri bottle, but I wasn't having too much trouble. I used the underwear that they give you, the like mesh panties with the huge pads. So I used those. They have like huge ones, and then they have a little bit smaller. I think I transitioned to the little bit smaller ones like the second day or something. So it really wasn't horrible as far as like bleeding goes and everything. And then once I was out of the hospital, I only continued bleeding for like a week or so. The pads that they sent home with me, I did end up getting like some mesh panties and pads to take home, which I was super grateful for, but I didn't really need that size very long at all. I think it was only like a few days, maybe a week, and then I switched to like regular period pads. So actually I would recommend having those when you get home from the hospital. I luckily did have like a couple bags, but I went through them really fast because I did need one there, even if I wasn't bleeding a lot, just because sometimes when you're breastfeeding, at least for me, when I was breastfeeding, I would bleed more because your uterus is contracting to get back down to the right size. So like your body, breastfeeding triggers your body to do that. So sometimes I would bleed more than other times. So I just wanted to have something down there just in case, and I'm glad that I did. And then I actually ended up starting my period around like week 4. So I started my period super early. I think usually they say it takes like 6 to 8 weeks. And if you're breastfeeding, it could be the entire time you're breastfeeding, you don't have a period. But I did start my period. And it's kind of hard to know, like, because I wasn't really bleeding very much. And then I started bleeding a lot. And so it's like, okay, is this my period, or am I just bleeding more because something with breastfeeding, something with my uterus, like who knows? But I'm pretty sure, and the doctor kind of confirmed that it probably was my period. But when you're breastfeeding, your period does kind of come and go and fluctuate, and it's not necessarily going to be regular like every month. So it'll be interesting to see, but that's been my experience thus far. On the physical side, as far as like pain management, I did take Tylenol and ibuprofen. So when I was in the hospital, they had me on this rotation of being able to take those. You can take ibuprofen every 6 hours and Tylenol every 6 hours. So I was able to every 3 hours have some pain meds, which I continued at home for the most part for at least a week or two. And then I wasn't really in a whole lot of pain. Even with the pain, it was more, I would say, like an awareness of the stitches. Like I could feel kind of where that was, but it wasn't like super painful. One of the nurses recommended using like a water bottle that you put in the fridge, like a plastic water bottle, to then put down there to kind of like numb and keep it cold, which did feel good. So I did that a couple times. I've heard other people talk about like ice packs that they got from the hospital. I didn't get anything like that. I also didn't ask for it. So I guess if you're in a lot of pain, let them know and maybe ask for that. But I didn't use it, and I wouldn't say that I really needed it. I did use the Dermoblast spray, so I would set up the pad with the witch hazel, the little pads, like their little circle witch hazel. I don't know what they are really, what they're called, but they're little circular things. And the hospital had some, and I had already bought some. So I only ended up using what the hospital gave me, and I actually have extra because the hospital really loaded me up. If you ask, and if you're nice to your nurses and you have, you know, just normal time with them and just ask for more of anything, then they will give it to you. So they were super great. So anyways, I would take the pad from the hospital, then put those witch hazel pads, sheets, whatever you want to call them, and then I would spray the Dermoplast stuff. I sprayed it not necessarily on the pad, but actually like on myself, and then used the pad, and I only did that for like the first few days, and then as long as like I felt comfortable, I kind of stopped doing that. So that was my experience. I had watched a ton of videos about it. I had really freaked out about the pain, but really the hardest part for me in postpartum has been breastfeeding and dealing with the emotions around that. So that's definitely a bigger deal for me personally, and I'm going to do a whole video talking about my breastfeeding experience. I'm sure I'll do more than one because I have learned so much. I have been researching and just like looking up everything I could possibly find on the internet about breastfeeding, because my son Asher, we've just had some issues, and even now at 6 weeks, it's still a really painful latch, but it's more manageable and getting better. So hopefully there will be a great ending to this story, but either way, he is eating enough now and he's gaining weight and it's all going well. But that's definitely been the hardest part. So that was all like the physical part of postpartum, but the emotional side is so important. It's definitely a lot harder than I really anticipated. I mean, I knew lack of sleep would be a problem for me because I do get kind of like irritable and stuff if I don't have good sleep. So I was kind of going into it knowing that. But then at the same time, I felt like, oh, well, I am getting like 6 to 7 hours of sleep, but there's those breaks in between of having to feed him. And it really does take a toll on you. It takes a toll mentally and physically and emotionally. And I've definitely had a hard time with that. It's been rough. It ebbs and flows, and it's been a roller coaster ride, and I definitely don't think I have like postpartum depression, so I really feel for anyone who does struggle with that. I can imagine how hard it is. I can and can't, I guess I'm supposed to say I can't imagine, but I can see how so many people do struggle with that, because it's just so much harder than you really expect. Even when people say it's hard and they say expect not to sleep and this or that, I'm like, well, I am getting some sleep, but I am just going through this huge massive change in my life and feeling like a failure and feeling like I can't even feed him and feeling like I'm doing something wrong and crying over spilled milk and just crazy emotions. You have a ton of hormones going into that, and it's also just a really hard, challenging time. So I definitely have been dealing with that. Here now at 6 weeks, things are better. There are days still where I, take it out on my husband and I'm really upset and just dealing with that, but I haven't really like cried as much as I thought I would after the first little bit of it being, even more challenging. I just didn't know when it was going to get better, and that was really hard for me too emotionally, to think like, am I a bad mom that I am just wanting him to get older when everyone else says, oh, I missed when they were little and I like it's going by too fast and blah blah, and I'm like, it couldn't go by fast enough. Like, when is he going to be 3 months and we're going to figure all this out and whatever. But after the first month, things have been so much better. I've definitely felt like I just have a better understanding of what he needs and what he wants and how to take care of him. Just recently we did introduce like the pacifier and things like that do help just when he's like super fussy and stuff. So there is hope for you if you're stuck in that, and if you are pregnant and having your baby, I would just say go in without too much of an expectation and too much stress. I don't think that it's healthy to like worry about it, but also you should expect that it's going to be a new challenge. And I think after that first month, and it could be longer for other people, at least our baby does sleep pretty well. Like he has, especially in the beginning, he would sleep very well, and I'd have to wake him up for every feeding and everything. So at least I was able to sleep, and I know that's not the case for a lot of moms. So everyone has their own challenges, but I don't want this to be like a negative video. I just want it to be kind of realistic and honest about my experience. But like I said, after the first month, things have been so much better. I'm so in love with him. I'm so happy, and he's like smiling and making little coos, like laughing almost noises, and just we have such a good time. We go on walks every day now. So that's the other thing for postpartum. Sorry, this video, I'm just like rambling on and on. I hope it's helpful for somebody. That's the point. And just sharing my experience and where I'm at in all of this, because it is such a whirlwind. But the other thing with postpartum, as far as the exercise goes, today I did my first Beachbody on demand exercise. So I do pay for that subscription. It's like $8.99 a month, and it's kind of like a Netflix for workouts. So I did my first postnatal workout. They have some prenatal and postnatal, and then they have tons of programs. So I'm hoping to start one of the like 3-week programs soon, but just wanted to kind of slowly ease myself back in. But I had been going on walks. I had skipped a lot the first few weeks, mostly just because I was trying to wrap my head around all the hard things I was going through with feeding and just getting used to this crazy schedule and being a mom and not really being able to do anything else. Even if I had the time, which I really didn't have the time, but even when I did, it's just like mentally and physically exhausting. So then it's like I just want to sit down and not do anything. But anyways, I did start going on walks probably around like the 3rd or 4th week, and it helps so much just to get outside, to have the baby in the stroller, and that's something I had looked forward to with having a baby. So I think it was good for me mentally, and then of course physically with endorphins and just getting some kind of physical activity, and just having a time where he's content. And sometimes it was harder than others. Now he seems to be like fully content in the stroller, but there were times that it was a little bit harder, so I try to stay close to my house. But luckily we have great sidewalks in our neighborhood, and I found a great loop that I like to go on now, so that has been kind of a lifesaver. But I am gonna start working out again now, and we'll see about my nutrition side of things. I have been eating oatmeal every morning, and I actually found out, which I used to eat oatmeal with peanut butter, banana, and chia seeds most of the time anyways, but I did find out in my researching that oatmeal is actually really good to eat for your milk supply. So now I eat that every morning. I guess chia seeds are supposed to also be good for it. So yeah, I feel good about that. But the nutrition side is so hard, like especially in the beginning of breastfeeding, I was like ravenous eating food. Now I'm a little bit better, but I still do snack quite a bit. One thing that I have decided is just to like cut out desserts and sweets. So I kind of decided that last week, and I haven't done it every day, but I am getting better. And what I find with most things nutrition wise is when you cut out those things, it's going to be hard for like a week or so, but then you won't have those cravings as much. And then same with like eating healthy foods, the more that you do introduce those vegetables and put those into your meals. I love vegetables anyways, so as soon as you start eating them again, then you'll remember how good it is and hopefully go from there. But I'm not an expert in any of that. I'm not even doing a great job myself, but I am going to start trying to do that. And it's more just to be healthy and raise my child in a healthy way. That's really my goal, and I want to be fit to be able to chase him around and all of that. So yeah, these are all of my thoughts. I am kind of done rambling on and on. I hope that this video has been helpful for at least one person, whether you're pregnant or going through postpartum. Please leave a comment down below and let me know if you have any questions or if you have any thoughts or anything like that. I'd love to respond and have a little conversation with you. Definitely make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Lots of mom content coming up. I love doing vlogs and sharing my life with you guys, and I'm excited to be able to look back at these memories and have kind of like home videos with my baby Asher. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you